Hi, my name is Beer, and let's start this game's like Skyrim list with the Bloodline. This is an open-world fantasy action RPG where you will take on a role of a descendant of a magical lineage. You are gifted the power of foresight by an ancient god to protect the world from evil. Here the adventure is yours. You will follow quest lines to help the people or roam the world freely at your own pace, allowing organic opportunities or organic deaths to arise. You will reform bonds between kingdoms, construct a village and prepare the world for the return of evil stuff. Just like in the Elder Scrolls games, here you will explore the world, join various guilds, hunt magical creatures, or become a bard at the local tavern. The game doesn't hold your hand or penis, you can enjoy and experience it in any way you desire. Outward Definitive Edition. This is an open-world survival game with Souls-like combat mechanics. In this edition you will find both DLCs, new weapons, dungeons and also several life quality improvements. The game has only a mostly positive review score on Steam, but it doesn't do the justice. Most people who are giving a dislike spend 40 to 60 hours in-game, and that honestly looks like some kind of masochism. Anyway, Outward is like Skyrim and Dark Souls had a weird hybrid baby, and instead of abortion, this time they decided to keep it. If you like both games, why not? Outward has some problems, but in general it is a nice game. Kingdom Come Deliverance Royal Edition. This version includes the base game and all the DLC, so if you never play the game, it's the best version you can get. And the Kingdom Come itself is basically a realistic Skyrim set in medieval Europe. It has a great story, interesting missions, and a really beautiful world set in an ancient part of nowadays Czech Republic. So grab your wooden sword and show everyone who's the real boss of Czechia is. Spoiler, not you probably, because at first you are very lame and puny. The harsh reality of level 1 villager that decided to become a warrior is not very pleasant. Imagine yourself being level 1 at anything, that is not nice. Level 1 penis doctor, imagine that. No, just no. But you will learn and armies will fall by your feet, sooner or later. Probably way later. Lilium. If you're not some AAA game maniac, Lilium looks kinda cool to be honest. As a game created by one man, it feels decent enough to grab my attention, especially because it has a feature I love the most in the Elder Scrolls franchise. Here you develop your character as you play, meaning that you get faster by running a lot, or get tougher by taking a lot of damage, become a better marksman if you shoot a lot of arrows, and become the best at farts if you are farting often enough. Funny thing is that it is actually in the game because I suggested it as a joke when I talked about this game for the first time some time ago, and the developer was like,
"Oh yeah, I should add fart mastery achievable through some magic beans."
And he did. The world here is open but very small. That is a nice thing to hear because most of those lone developers are like,
"Yeah, I will make another Skyrim but bigger. Yeah, it's gonna get swifty in here."
What's your budget?
What's a budget? I'm a free soul. I make everything better without any budget, man.
So, nothing like that this time. The main story and several side quests will take only a few hours from your life. Cool feature is that most stuff here is lootable and the rest you can move or throw. True spirit of the Elder Scrolls. Blacktail. Here the choice is yours. Will you become the guardian of the woods or the terror nightmares are made of? You play as Yaga, a 16-year-old girl accused of witchcraft and expelled from a medieval settlement. Well, I know what I would be doing after that. Definitely not helping poor folk from the aforementioned village to heal their sick cattle. No, I would rather secretly put pineapple in their potato salad. Also would turn all their delicious beer into milk.
Milk of a cat.
Yeah, milk of a cat or of a hamster. Anyway, he will decide the fate of the land and its inhabitants, and witness the impact of your decisions on your skills through an implemented morality system. People on Steam are saying that the game feels more mature than the visuals it provides, and the story is really dark and captivating. Tainted Grail: The Fall of Avalon. Recently I played it for several hours and I was really impressed. This indie dark fantasy title follows the Elder Scrolls formula to the letter. Here you play from the first-person perspective. You can use magic, shoot with bows or swing mighty melee weapons. And the more you use one skill or another, the more powerful it becomes. Literally, the vibes from Morrowind are here as well. If you jump a lot, you will train your jumping skill and later you can jump higher. If you run a lot, you will start running faster. If you fight with a two-handed sword, your two-handed damage will be become higher. If you make a bowl of delicious potato salad, well, you get the point, right?
No, only left.
Oh, shut up. Also, you can assign various perks and skill points when you level up and create your unique character. And the game really rewards exploration. You can find many hidden items, boss battles, or even entire huge areas if you go off the beaten path. I left starting area with about 15 jars filled with brain and several tongs of a drowner. Tainted Grail The Fall of Avalon really delivers in the field of items and various stuff in general. Like in Elder Scrolls games, you can take items directly from the world and put them into your almost endless pocket. I did the calculations. If you really want, you can carry more than 100 hats. You probably may even become a hat seller.
From where did you get these fancy hats, boy?
Well, I kill people and take their belongings.
Alrighty then, we'll give you 1 gold for the fancy one.
That is a deal. Fallout New Vegas Ultimate PCR. This is a legendary game, and this deal is the best version of it possible. Pack contains DLCs like Dead Money, Honest Hearts, Old World Blues, Lonesome Road, and so on. So basically, if you play the game when it initially came out or never tried it, this version is the best way to experience Fallout New Vegas. Keep in mind that this is one of the best Fallout games ever created. You know, including classic games and new ones, Fallout New Vegas outshines them all. Everyone who played New Vegas is talking quite unanimously about its greatness. The game was created by Obsidian, the same guys who made Fallout clone The Outer Worlds, and now are making the Elder Scrolls clone named Avowed. So serious clone people made this serious game, and this price is kinda friendly. Not like all the inhabitants of the desert you will encounter in-game. The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt. This is probably the best fantasy open-world RPG ever created, and I doubt that I could find anyone who at least never heard of it. Well, at least inside the Western influence hemisphere, it's a true legend. On Steam it has more than 600,000 reviews, and 96% of these people recommend this game for you. And my friendship with Witcher Geralt started way before any of the games were released. I read the book when I was a teenager, and after many years I even got Andrzej Sapkowski to sign it for me when he was visiting Lithuania for some book fair or something. And we also spoke for like 20 seconds as well. Never washed my mouth and years after that. Anyway, the game has an incredible story, super fun gameplay, and a huge dark fantasy open world to explore. The coolest thing is, of course, your profession. You kill monsters for money, so you can just travel around the map and fulfill contracts ignoring the main story as long as you want or as long as you can get a new contract. And every single monster hunt is a handcrafted mission with different outcomes and sometimes hard moral choices. Third Witcher is probably the best game I have ever played. Dragon's Dogma Dark Arisen. This is a massive, challenging action RPG that drops you into a vast open world full of interesting characters and creatures. The game is made by Capcom, a Japanese company, but the whole setting of Dragon's Dogma is European. So you may think maybe because of that this game features some ridiculous moments, but Capcom was really serious about the job. They went all around Europe to actually get a lot of information, especially for the backgrounds and environments in the Dragon's Dogma. They looked at architecture and buildings and things of that nature, and also just natural environments as well. Also took many pictures and tried to recreate those as closely as possible. Well, a bunch of Japanese people in Europe taking pictures? Who could have thought? Anyway, developers actually did a lot of research in Europe that helped to recreate stuff in-game, and that level of dedication is truly admirable. Dragon's Dogma has more strategy and more dynamic fights than usual action RPG games. You know, you can climb monsters here, and that is super cool. Also, it's a tougher game in general, but if you like to explore the open world and love fantasy games, you can't ignore it. Gamers are talking that this is an underrated gem and is a must-play for every open-world RPG fan. Immortals Fenyx Rising. I bought this game for a full price on the release day, and I can proudly say that this is probably the best game I have played in the year of 2020s. I was expecting nothing from it. It looks childish and colorful, and I don't like any of that. You know, I'm 40 years old, you can't buy me with colors. But I started to feel that something is a sus with my prejudice when I heard the first joke, which was really good, but I'm not gonna spoil it to you. And later I started to realize that the whole game is filled with jokes that I find funny, even in the character creation menu. Fun thing is that during the whole game, gods Zeus and Prometheus are talking in the background about you in the past tense, like everything you do has already happened. You know, when they say,
"And then he saw a terrible monster."
You can be sure that you will see a terrible monster in a second, because it's your story that has already happened, but you don't know how yet. Only gods know. In other words, you have to live the story gods are talking about. So let's hope that they don't say anything like,
"And then he put some pineapples into his potato salad.
No. This is not a horror game, so let's hope they will not say that. Although avoid this game if you don't like puzzles. Fenyx Rising is filled with them, but if you liked solving puzzles in Skyrim, for example, you will feel right at home here as well. Fallout 4. Here you can play from first or third person perspective. You can take items that lie around and roam across a big open world in search of adventure, absolutely ignoring the main quest and story. So basically it evokes, at least for me it did, the same feeling of freedom and exploration as the Elder Scrolls games. The main difference, of course, is the setting. Fallout 4 is a post-apocalyptic sci-fi game. It's filled with mutants and creepy facilities to explore. You can also join various factions, and that will immensely influence the outcome of the story. Sadly, they don't have a potato salad faction you could join. That is a shame. The game, along with the third Fallout game, has only one really annoying feature. In both cases, I finished the game thinking that I have like 10 or more hours of gameplay left, and it ended absolutely unexpectedly and way too fast. So if you decide to play Fallout 4, keep that in mind. Roam around, do some side quests, do not rush the story. All three games, I mean third Fallout, Fallout New Vegas and Fallout 4 are great games. You have all my recommendations. Elden Ring. I bought the game just because I thought that it was similar to Skyrim, and I wasn't disappointed. The vast open world filled with mysteries for you to explore, interesting original enemies, NPCs, caves and dungeons filled with secrets put a spell on me immediately. The only thing is that if you are not a hardcore player, sooner or later you either give up or actually learn to play. The game is balanced for those who like Souls-like games, but it is possible to play for people without masochistic tendencies as well. The game is a bit easier than Dark Souls, but just keep in mind that despite that, it is really challenging and you will be dying all the time. Although this time it's an open world and you can go wherever you want. And the game doesn't hold your hand or penis, so you are free to go and explore various places. You may ask, how to know where to go then? Well, you will know, believe me. If you put your nose in the wrong area, you will die a little bit quicker than in other places. Anyway, the world is beautiful, enemies are really original, and you may not have a lot of fun here, but the atmosphere of the game will forever stay with you. Elden Ring is not something you can easily forget about. Smalland, Survive the Wilds. Here you'll traverse puddles as big as a lake, scale skyscraper-sized trees and scramble through cavernous cracks in roads as you explore a huge open world from a new perspective. Well, honestly, we all saw this in Grounded already, but that game is obviously oriented to a younger audience, and Smalland is more like a traditional open-world RPG with heavy crafting and survival elements. Yeah, keep that in mind. The game is filled with various challenges. The squirrel gangs that see you as a walking peanut can be a little overwhelming and add an unexpected twist to your tiny adventures. One of the coolest things is that you can ride various creatures, and not only on the ground, there are plenty of flying mounts as well. And for me, after flying for countless hours in Hogwarts Legacy, it's very hard to go back to any game that doesn't have this feature. Anyway, you can play the game alone or with friends, but keep in mind that it is still in early access, so you can run into various problems nobody else has ever even seen before. Also, if you are afraid of spiders, fair warning, you are a pussy. I'm kidding, I just wanted to stress out that here you will encounter some realistically looking and moving spiders that may not be compatible with your raging arachnophobia. Kingdoms of Amalur: Re-Reckoning. The game was released in 2012, but 10 years later it was remastered and sold, you know the drill, as a new game with a price of a new game. Everyone was raging, but now it's not a problem anymore. On various sales you can get it with 60 or 70% discount. The game itself is designed by the Elder Scrolls Oblivion lead designer Ken Rolston and set in a world with a lore of 10,000 years of fiction created by New York Times bestselling author R.A. Salvatore, or however his name is pronounced. I don't know him, but he's obviously very good. So this is a huge open world game, although be warned that some players sometimes encounter game-breaking bugs. I literally read that in a comment that was written a few months ago. It's not old news or something, keeping the age of the game in mind. Anyway, the game itself is really good, so you may want to risk it. Greedfall Gold Edition. Here you'll have a complete freedom in character progression. As a male or female, customize your appearance and freely choose your abilities, spells and skills. But do not expect miracles, this is not a highest level RPG, although it looks like one. Greedfall was created in 3 years and its budget was about $5 million. For a AAA open world game like this, it's the bare minimum for it to be decent, so treat it more like a very expensive indie game instead. Somewhat similar budget had the Kingdom Come Deliverance team, and Skyrim's budget was about 100 million. For it, you can literally create 20 games like Greedfall, so keep that in mind before you start comparing Greedfall with the giants of the genre. And this version, Greedfall Gold Edition, includes a DLC, so this is a better version of the game if you compare it with just the basic Greedfall. It is a decent game, and as I've said many times, I would give it about 7 cold beers out of 10. Middle-earth Shadow of Mordor, Game of the Year Edition. In the first part of Middle-earth, you will fight through Mordor and uncover the secret of the spirit that compels you. You will discover the origins of the Rings of Power, build your legend, and ultimately confront the evil of Sauron. The best thing about playing Shadow of Mordor is that it makes you feel overpowered without sacrificing the fear of defeat. You will enjoy great fast-paced combat and a nice good-looking open world full of Lord of the Rings lore. If you are a fan of Tolkien's books or Lord of the Rings movies, then this game will for sure do a little bit extra to make you happy. The plot of the game is okayish, you will find nothing very fancy or mind-blowing here. Despite that, the flow, the pace of the game will not let you get bored, that's for sure. And this version of the game includes new missions. You will have to face Sauron's elite defenders before the Black Gate, dive deeper into Mordor's living world and hunt the wild beasts, and battle against Sauron as Celebrimbor, the great elven lord of the Second Age, to unlock powerful runes and the ability to wield the One Ring. That is awesome, and the game is awesome as well. Two Worlds Epic Edition. Back in the days, this game tried to decrown the Elder Scrolls Oblivion and take its place in the world of open-world RPGs. Obviously it failed, but not because it was a bad game, but because of the countless bugs and glitches. Also because people tried to compare it to other AAA games, despite the fact that Two Worlds is not a AAA kind of game. It was made by a quite prominent Polish game development studio, famous for the titles like Jagged Alliance 2, Knights and Merchants, and Earth 2150. Sadly, a few years after a flop of the second part of Two Worlds, the studio went bankrupt. So anyway, here you'll be searching for your sister, and along the way you will defeat evil. Epic Edition includes original Two Worlds and DLC, also 90 new quests and 8 new multiplayer maps. Yeah, you can play this game in co-op with your friends, that is cool. Also, you won't find any modern bullshit like balance or level scaling here. It's a classic and it will take about 20 hours for you to finish it. Middle-earth Shadow of War. As people say, this game is a mix of Batman, Assassin's Creed, The Witcher and Tetris. Why Tetris, you ask? As I always say, in this game, just like in Tetris, enemies will come at you in all shapes and sizes at different speeds, and you will have to make them disappear if you want to survive. See, Middle-earth is just like Tetris. Deal with it. Here the visuals and the world captures the essence of Middle-earth absolutely perfectly. You know, in the same way like potato salad captures your taste buds, just like that. If you are a fan of Tolkien's world, this game will make you an addict. This is a real orc-killing simulator after all. The story is also nice to say the least, and combat is very satisfying. You will feel as a bit overpowered combat god, but that won't affect the gameplay itself. You will always get some really hard adversaries to test the strength of your mental balls. Don't be shy, have them big and hairy so your enemies would die from fear alone. Gothic series. Although morally they are all kinda old games, but if you're not a sucker for a modern, high-end graphics, try them out. From the first Gothic game released in 2001 to the last spin-off released in 2010 and named Arcania, most of those open-world RPGs have immersive stories, original worlds and gameplay that will pin you to your chair, except probably Arcania. It's bad, only about 50% of its Steam reviews are positive. Avoid. Anyway, you can download various graphic enhancement mods so your Gothic games could look shiny as new. Also, there's a remake of the first Gothic game incoming. There's no release date set yet, but graphics-wise it looks amazing. Though gameplay-wise, we will see. The demo version, called Gothic Playable Teaser, was not received very well, but let us hope for the best. Dragon Age Inquisition. While we wait for the next part of Dragon Age to be released, let's take a look what the last game in the series had to offer. Let's start with the fact that it wasn't completely oriented to the fans of the Dragon Age franchise and tried to be appealing to a wider audience. That they definitely achieved. Me and my wife, we played the game and we liked it. It was our first experience in the world of Dragon Age and we had tons of fun. My wife even completed it twice. The game was designed to be played using a pause function, but I can't remember ever doing that. I played it in real time all the time and I had fun. Maybe on some boss I pre-planned some moves, but that was about it. It is definitely not a game for a hardcore Dungeons & Dragons fan, more like a nice fantasy title for the masses. It is beautiful, has a nice story and you can own a castle. In my opinion, 8 cold beers out of 10. Just be careful, with it you must install EA Launcher. That is never cool. Arisen 3 Titan Lords. Honestly, the third part of the game has the worst review score compared to previous parts, but somehow it is headed to a glorious comeback. You know, nowadays games like that are super rare. Just look at my list of the best open world games like Skyrim. I make it every year and 85% of the games are always the same, with some different versions of a few games. You know, some legendary editions show up and so on, but that's it. Only a small fraction of games that make it to the list are new, and that is because nobody's making anything like that anymore. So games like the third Arisen are being appreciated way more now than on the day of release, when the gaming world was oversaturated with various open world RPGs. The game is about 10 years old, but the visuals are not trying to bleed your eyes out. The graphics are quite nice, and the game's story is quite a cliché, but not a bad one. The world here has been abandoned by its gods and is scarred from the rampage of the Titans. Humanity is struggling to regain power, but you, however, have more pressing concerns, your own life and, you know, similar stuff. Legend of Zelda, Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom. Although it can look a bit childish for a mature player, Legend of Zelda games has a massive, memorable open world, and when it first showed up, many were thinking about Skyrim just in a Zelda universe. You can go anywhere your eyes can see, fight various monsters, weird spirits and even a few dragons. The most amazing thing you can do is to fly, well, mostly downwards, but in this world it feels amazing. Sadly, the game is released only on Nintendo machines, so if you want to play Zelda but have no means or no skill to use various emulators, play Immortals Fenyx Rising instead. It's basically the same. Hogwarts Legacy. I had a lot of fun playing this game, although I bought it with the idea of playing it a bit, making a review to my channel and forgetting about it. Well, turns have tabled while I played it. It was so much fun to explore the land and meet various characters, I refused to convert it into a job. So I just played the game for my own pleasure and completely skipped it on my channel. Hogwarts Legacy was one of the few games that actually survived the hype train and never crashed anywhere. The game has above 90% of positive reviews on Steam, and I would give the game 10 cold beers out of 10. Without much thinking. The world is very detailed, quests are handcrafted and fun, magic truly feels like magic, and the world is really open, although the map is shaped like a bow, very narrow and long. But that's maybe a thing of a lore. I don't know, I have never read the books, only seen the movies. Only thing that actually spoiled the game a bit was how soon I got the ability to fly. That absolutely crashed the exploration on foot part. Flying in Hogwarts is awesome, but I would have given this ability way later in the game. The variety of enemies also could be wider, but hey, it's a great game, you have all my recommendations. Elex 1 and 2. Alright, so Elex and Elex 2 are made by the same people who created Gothic games, and if you are an old-school gamer, this information should spark real interest into your heart. It is set in a post-apocalyptic science fantasy universe full of original characters, deep moral choices, and dinosaurs. Yeah, you can be slain by a Penisoraptor here. Well, they may be called differently in-game, but anyone who slays you is a total dick, that's for sure. Also, here you'll have a jetpack, and that is amazing because you can explore not only horizontally but also erect yourself vertically and find some nice treasures hidden high up the hills. The novelty which distinguishes Elex from the first game the most is an entire system of aerial combat, with all its benefits, including enemies with an improved AI. Both games have mostly positive reviews on Steam and kinda similar scores on Metacritic, so I don't recommend buying them for the full price. Wait for a sale and then snatch them both. The discount value varies from 50 to 75%, and there is no better channel covering sales than this one. Assassin's Creed Valhalla. Here you'll put on the shoes of a legendary Viking warrior on a quest of glory. Explore England's dark ages as you raid your enemies, grow your settlement and build your political power. Yeah, this is one of the most innovative Assassin's Creed games, and the Nordic theme of Vikings is what fans of the franchise always wanted, although it is far from the top predators of the genre, such as Title of Third Witcher or even Skyrim by the quality of story and characters. Also, no boobs for you here. Viking game without boobs. What is this blasphemy? Anyway, it is still a nice title, but wait for a sale. The price discount may be around 70%. So that's it. Of course, Morrowind, Oblivion and various Skyrim mods like Enderall could go to this list as well, but those titles are too obvious for a Skyrim fan, so I hope you play them already. If not, just do it. There are zillions of mods making them into a modern, or at least into a semi-modern games. And of course, there is no better place to buy all these games than the Humble Bundle store. Huge discounts and sales every day. You will find my affiliate link in the description below. Thank you for watching, have a nice day, and I'll see you next time. Bye.